Welcome to the Daughter Rise channel. My name is Yvonne and this channel is all about bringing you content about childhood sexual abuse. I am myself somebody that has gone through this childhood trauma, and on this channel I share things from my experience of going through it, things that I found encouraging, helpful, things I found difficult, in hopes of encouraging other survivors on their journey. Also as well, I share news stories on this subject and add my thoughts and commentary to them. And also as well, from time to time I do interview other survivors and their supporters in hopes of raising awareness of this childhood abuse. So if this is the type of content you're looking for, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And also as well, if you do like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So today guys, I'm coming to you with a story about the singer R. Kelly. For those of you who don't know, R. Kelly was a huge global superstar in the 90s, early 90s, right through to the 2000s. He did a lot of R&B songs, but also collaborated with pop stars and other artists from different music genres. And what happened is that a couple of years ago, R. Kelly was sentenced to 20 years for child sexual abuse. He was found guilty of enticing minors into sexual acts. And in the latest news to do with R. Kelly, his daughter Abby has come out and said that her father R. Kelly sexually abused her as a child. So I'm just going to share with you a little bit of this story from the Daily Mail. I will leave a link to the story in the description box below for you to check out for yourself. So the story says one of R. Kelly's daughters has come out to accuse the convicted felon of sexually abusing her when she was just a child. Buku Abby as she is known, 26, said in a two-part documentary called Karma, A Daughter's Journey, that the disgraced 57-year-old singer had abused her when she was around 8 or 9 years old. She said she first reported the alleged misconduct to her mother in 2009 when she was around 10 years old. Kelly, full name Robert Kelly, as I mentioned, is currently serving, I thought it was a 20-year sentence, but he's actually serving a 31-year sentence at a medium security federal prison in North Carolina. I think that's where I got a little bit confused, guys, because I did read he got a 20-year sentence, but then they added extra time onto his sentence. So he was convicted in 2021 and 2022 of child sexual abuse charges. Abby says, "He was my everything. For a long time, I didn't even want to believe it happened. I didn't know that even if he was a bad person, that he would do something to me," Abby said of her father in the first episode of the documentary. She says, "I was too scared to tell anybody. I was too scared to tell my mum," she admitted. Abby was born Joanne Kelly, declined to share details about the abuse she allegedly suffered at the hands of her father, R. Kelly, in the first episode, which premiered last Friday. However, she did say that prison was a well-suited place for her dad, a conclusion she arrived at based on her personal experience with him. She spoke of the ways Kelly's alleged abuse completely altered the course of her life. Abby said that 1 millisecond completely changed my whole life and changed who I was as a person and changed the sparkle I had and the light I used to carry. Also in the documentary, she says her visitations to her father ended after she reported the alleged abuse to her mother, and she said her brother Robert and sister Joa also stopped seeing him. But to this day, she said she still struggles with it a lot. In the second episode, she did share a little bit more. She said, "I remember waking up to him touching me," she recounted through tears, "and I didn't know what to do, so I just kind of laid there and I pretended to be asleep." The songstress said she told her mother, Drea Kelly, who is also featured in the documentary, what had happened, and the two then filed a complaint listing her as Jane Doe. However, the delay between the alleged abuse happening and when Abby told her mother may have scuttled their chances of getting justice. She said, "They couldn't prosecute him because I waited too long. So at that point in my life, I feel like I said something for nothing," she says. Kelly's lawyer, in a statement, vehemently denies these allegations. So as you just heard from that story, one of R. Kelly's daughters, Abby, has disclosed to the public at 26 years old that her father, R. Kelly, has sexually abused her. Now, there's a number of things I want to pick out from this story quickly, just to kind of highlight. When somebody goes through sexual abuse, a lot of victims do not come forward and disclose or tell anybody about their abuse at the time of it happening. As Abby shared in this story, She said she was too scared to tell anybody. For other victims, it might be for them thinking whether they're going to be believed or not. For others, it is the fear of blame and shame, or being, told off for saying things about the alleged perpetrator. But more often than not, because of some of these reasons, it can take a victim of childhood sexual abuse a long time to tell anybody what has happened to them. It can even take decades. It can take up to 20 years or more for a victim of childhood sexual abuse to tell anybody what has happened to them. And some never tell anybody at all. The fact that she's been able to do this and share, even at this stage, what has happened to her, I think she's very brave and very courageous. Because as I just said, many victims and survivors never tell anybody. A lot of them suffer in silence and they take it to their grave. And that is why I said in the Tony Busby video that I did on the new allegations that came out of P. Diddy, that it is a positive thing that in some states in America that they've increased the statutes of limitations to take into account that victims can take a long time to speak up. They've given them that grace period for them to be able to do that. R. Kelly has had a track record of sexually abusing young girls. Now, this is something that was known from the early 90s, and he was only really convicted, a few years ago. There was the whole thing with Sparkle's niece. Sparkle was a singer that was under R. Kelly's record label. He sexually abused her and video recorded it, him peeing on her and different things like that. So to hear that one of his daughters has come forward to say, my father, R. Kelly, has done this to me, is not a surprise to me. There is research out there, and it's something that I talk about in my book, Choose Life, where a researcher through a university went to visit paedophiles that were locked up in penitentiaries or jails in America to speak to them about their victims. It was found that on average, they had at least 48 victims. And this kind of pattern, when I've spoken to other survivors that I've personally known who have disclosed later on that they've gone through childhood sexual abuse, have found out through when they've gone to the police and the police have done investigations on the perpetrator of their abuse, that they have abused others as well. So it's not really a thing where a lot of paedophiles will only abuse one child or have one victim. As I've said on other videos, paedophiles are very good at making the victim feel that they are the only victim, when in fact they have abused others. So it's no surprise to me that she has come out and said this. And for her, maybe it's been a thing of, she's now 26, the abuse happened at 9 and 10. Maybe she didn't feel safe to come out and tell anybody as well, because besides the fact that this is her father, this is somebody who in the 90s was musically, critically acclaimed. Everybody loved his music and everything else. So there must have been that pressure there for her as well, thinking that she wouldn't be believed. And also as well, I should say here that I did a video on R. Kelly probably about 3 years ago, doing a kind of deep dive into his background, because at the time when all these charges came out, it was big news in the newspaper, and I did a video on it, and I came to find out that R. Kelly and his brother were sexually abused by an aunt when they were younger. So I'm not saying that this is the reason why he's gone on to sexually abuse minors, because there is research out there, and I've looked at it, that says that just because you've been sexually abused as a child doesn't mean you will go on to then become a paedophile. As a matter of fact, there is only a small percentage of children who were sexually abused as a child that would go on to become, as adults, fully fledged paedophiles and perpetrators of sexual abuse against children. But it was really interesting to find that out. And it kind of made sense, all the things he was doing with Aaliyah in the early 90s, that song that he had with her, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, and, the fact that he called himself Pied Piper. And if you know the story of Pied Piper, he was a Pied Piper basically with a flute that led the children with his music out of town, led them away and stuff. And this is what he was actually doing in real life. And from what he had said is that what had happened to him as a child instigated this lust in him that he couldn't quench. But as I said, that doesn't mean it's right for him to go around and sexually abuse minors, sexually abuse young girls, and sexually abuse his own daughter. I do feel sad for her that she won't get justice because of the time frame that has passed in whatever state that she is in, that, you know, can't prosecute after a certain time when it comes to child sexual abuse. But I want to just say that she's very, very brave in sharing her story. She has done more than a lot of victims and survivors have ever been able to do. And she's done it publicly, which couldn't have been easy for her. I want to encourage her to just continue on her healing journey, to look after herself, not to blame herself for what had happened. I think it's going to be a lot for her to process over time, but hopefully she can get the support that she needs, as I said, through therapy. And also her brother and sister are supporting her and standing with her. You know, as it said in the story, they don't see their father anymore either. And her mother went with her to the police. So I feel with all that support that she has in place, even though she may never get over what has happened to her, she will be able to face her experiences with her father. There are many things from this story to take away, but as I finish, I think this is something that a lot of people who haven't gone through childhood sexual abuse struggle to understand. Because the act happened many years ago, you often hear family and people around the victim tell them that, you know, they should just get on with their life. Why are they still sad about it? I mean, I heard that from my own mum. You know, cheer up, get on with it. It's never as simple as that. A lot of survivors have been told, you know, they're upset about it for too long. They should just move on with their life. But one of the things she said here is that 1 millisecond completely changed my whole life, and changed who I was as a person, and changed the sparkle I had and the light I used to carry. I think it is so powerful what she has said here. That act, what her father did to her, changed the course of her life, how she viewed herself, the struggles that she has, the light that she used to carry. And I always have said this when I have done talks about my experience of going through childhood sexual abuse, that the time, that very act when my dad first sexually abused me, changed something within me. Something that, up to this very day, even though I've been able to heal from a lot of my journey, I still struggle to find the words to articulate. But what she says here is true. That 1 millisecond of the act that somebody that she loved, her father, did to her, altered something in her. And for those of you out there who have not gone through childhood sexual abuse, it may be for the person that you know that's been through it, they'll never be able to articulate to you the impact that it has on them. But the most important thing that you can do, as we can see from Abby's story, is to support them and be there for them. So guys, that is it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.